Hello and welcome to ForgoTV. Got some jazzy music. Got a new scene. Got a little CNC machine going. So that's what I want to talk about. Welcome to the channel. I'm Forgo. Here to talk about CNC machine. So I made this CNC machine last year. It's been a daunting process. Really enjoy it. Huge learning curve. It's a 5 foot by 10 foot CNC machine. As you can see in the video there, that's kind of what it is. It could fit a full sheet of plywood, which is what is cut in there. It could also do a 5 foot by 5 foot Baltic birch sheet. So it's real versatile. It could do all kinds of things. There's a laser I could add to it that I haven't added to it. There's a plasma cutter that I could upgrade and turn this into a plasma cutting machine. I haven't even thought about doing that yet, but I could and probably will at one point, maybe. And then they just upgraded the machine to where they have servo motors they have available, and they have a new control software. I got this through AVID CNC. I'll put the link in the description. It's a really solid machine. It came in like 50 boxes. So yeah, it's a lot of assembly work. There's a huge learning curve on. First of all, you got to have some kind of idea of what you're doing with 3D software to be able to make designs that you want to come up with or make changes to things. There's the Vectric toolpath software, which basically takes those designs. There's some 3D stuff that you can use of theirs, or you can import your own 3D models, which is a lot of times what I'll do. And then the toolpath software is basically what tells this machine what to do. So you got to learn, you got to know a little bit about that. It's like most graphic programs, a little bit of a learning curve, not too bad, pretty straightforward. But it's Vectric that I use, and then you got to pay a little bit more for that outside of the cost of the machine, which I'll share here in a sec. And then there's the control software, which is the Mach 4 currently, which is what I've got. Like I said, they're changing their control software, but that's the machine brains basically of what does the machine do with the G code that you produced from the Vectric file. That's basically what that software does, and how do you configure the machine and do all the limits and all the different configurations, that kind of thing, is with the machine software. So there's basically three different software suites to kind of at least know a little bit about. So there's that, and that was a learning curve in itself. Took me a couple years of kind of going over. I've been using Blender for maybe 10 years of just piddling at it. I make some things, and I'll kind of show you here. The general thing with the CNC machine is the big part is planning. Just to show you what I've got for, this is how much it costs for the machine. This does not include the Vectric software. So it's $21,000, $600 to me. And like I said, I paid this last year, I believe, last spring. And then built it all together. You have to buy the software. There's a computer that you have to buy for the control brain. So you still have to buy like a Windows PC kind of thing. And so, yeah, it gets up to be, I'm all in, or I'm around 25,000, and there's bits, and that's a rabbit hole in itself, because bits can be, anywhere from like $5 to $100 bits. And, there's like tramming tools, and I'll put some links and a lot of that stuff in the description. But of the different things that I've kind of used, or the different computers that I use. So I've got all the links down there. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff, really. But I love a good challenge. I didn't really know much about this stuff. I'm kind of restarting on I don't know, 20 years ago I had like a medical problem, so where I lost a lot of my memories and skills. So I've been kind of restarting over the last couple decades. It's been a couple decades. It's been a while now. So it's a learning curve. It's not something that you have to know anything about you know, to be able to learn stuff on YouTube, watch 50,000 videos on how other dudes did it, that kind of thing. But yeah, really enjoy the process. So the planning process, I've got a Blender that I use, like I said, and basically it's a 3D software. I use it for my video, my video editing, which I'm not very good at it, but I get better. I use it for a lot of my planning. Um, I use it for different little various things. For example, I've got the little holographic Cybertruck that I made in the main scene here. I've got the little neon light thing that I made. All that stuff I made in Blender. But this is kind of my house. I've got my trailer back there, which is some other stuff I'm going to be building with this machine. Some trailer attachments, but it's kind of like a representation of what my garage is. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, this gives me it's to scale. This gives me a good idea of like where stuff would go once I have it where I want it. And I've got a little animation where all the doors open up. I also used it to make sure before I got the Cybertruck if it fit, and it does, and it barely does, but it fits. And you can see it in my other video. It's kind of in the background there. But yeah, so this is kind of how I planned it out, anyways. This is the machine that I kind of built a little model of. Some of the stuff I built a model of, like this compressor, I built a model. But some other things like this is my bandsaw, and I didn't really go through building a model for it yet. And this is my drill press, and this is a cart. So there's a bunch of different things that I didn't bother to actually model out. You don't have to model it out to plan it. You basically just want to have like a representation of what size it is, and then you can move it around. You know, you could say, well, maybe if I put it over here, would that fit? If I took that cabinet out and put this over here, would that fit? You know, and then you save so much money and time. You know, learning the software is one thing for sure, but being able to do this and be able to move stuff around and see how it fits and see if you've got enough room on each side, and you know, it really is quite a time saver when it comes to building it, and a money saver when it comes to once you plop this machine down and build it, moving it over 2 or 3 inches. It just, you know, you don't want to have that kind of thing happen because you're like, oh crap, it doesn't fit, you know, just right. So there's a lot of extra calculations, and then this is kind of how I roughly planned how I was going to do the dust collection. And so the dust collection is an issue that you want to be concerned about. There's a static electricity buildup thing that can happen. It's not a huge thing, but it can happen with small particles and static electricity. So what I kind of did with that is I've got this is kind of the beginning of the dust collection with nothing. And this is a little zoomed in, but you can kind of see here at least. I've got foil tape running up and down, and it goes on the inside as well of the plastic tubes. And then I've got this wire, this copper wire that basically goes around and underneath this rubber, because this is a rubber connector. So it connects this foil to the other foil, and then the foil going all the way down on the inside and the outside keeps the entire tube statically protected or grounded. And so far, I haven't had a single problem with it. It really works great. I've got basically some threaded rod and 2 pieces of wood that I've got as like almost like a cable channel. But yeah, that's what brings it out to the center there, and then it's just bungee cords. So I've got a smaller bungee cord kind of where it tees off, and then I've got a larger bungee cord that kind of, I don't know, kind of pulls off to the side. But I mean, this is the most you see it right where it's at, where it actually touches. But once it goes beyond that, it's not really touching that much. So it's very little bit of rubbing. It really works out great. I haven't had too many problems with it. The dust shoe I've got on there works great. But the static what I do, and then the copper wire, what I did is I grounded it to this to the motor that's over on the wall there. And it really, I haven't had any static buildup in over a year. The dust collector works great. I've got a Cyclone on it. It's just like a 2 horsepower wall dust motor. But the bag, I've never had to empty the bag because the Cyclone that I've got, the little dust deputy kind of Cyclone thing, it's like maybe a 7-gallon bucket or something like that, maybe a 10-gallon. But it fills it up with a lot of dust, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, I mean, I have a mask on. I don't ever really need it unless I take the dust collector or the dust shoe off, or if I turn the motor off, or, even with the dust shoe off, even with the motor on, it's not really doing much. It sucks up some, but, so yeah, I don't really need the, dust mask, and as you can see on the sides, I've got kind of these rolled up. On the outside of the garage door, I've got like a mosquito net that goes around the front. Then it's got a magnet kind of closure thing. And then I've got these mosquito nets all rolled up on the side on the top. And that was just because I was kind of afraid that the cars might attract some of the particles. But none of that's happened. The Cybertruck doesn't collect a bunch of dust on it or anything like that. So I didn't really need to buy these. I could probably take them down at some point, but it is kind of neat to have it kind of segregated if I had to, if I wanted to do some videos without the dust shoe and not get dust all over the place. But that's kind of what I've done for dust. So I've got the mosquito nets on the outside or on the sides that cover that kind of separate this bay. And then I've got a mosquito net on the garage door when it's open. It works out pretty good. No dust issues other than having to take it out every once in a while. I've got a shop vac underneath it that I kind of use to do cleanup and things like that, and that works really well. So yeah, that's dust collection. And like I said, we talked about the price. So it's a daunting task. It took maybe a couple days to build. It's a lot of heavy stuff. It's maybe 50 boxes or something. But yeah, I liked it. It's kind of like a big Lego set. And then, as I think I've kind of been babying it because I tend to do a bunch of different, like 3 or 4 cuts to do the profile cuts. And I tried it somewhere in this video. I've got where it tried a circle in one cut. And it went kind of fast, and I was kind of afraid to push my bit. It did it like butter. I mean, it really handled it so well that I don't know why I've been afraid to push it, because originally the machine that I started with is an MP CNC. And let me see if I can add this. Yeah, this is the first machine that I got, or that I made, and it's basically a 3D printed machine and conduit. And so this is the first machine that I had. So I guess it's because I'm used to this, because this was pretty shitty. I mean, it did some cool little carvings and stuff, and you could do some neat stuff with it, but it's not going to handle any kind of like walnut or anything like that. And the router was just like a DeWalt handheld router that was attached to it, which has got that little mounting bracket on there. But this is all just 3D printed parts I mean, it's a neat little thing, Arduino running it, but that's how I started in the CNC world, is just kind of making one of these and playing with it, because I had a 3D printer that I just wanted to nerd out about, and I thought, oh, I can make a machine with my 3D printer. So I don't know, it's kind of neat. So yeah, coming from that to this, I think I was just still in that mindset of I've got low end equipment, but this is, I mean, the router spindle on this is what is it, 4 horsepower or something. Yeah, I don't have the picture up right away, but maybe it's a 6 horsepower. I forget, but it's a powerful spindle. It runs on 220. The cool thing about the Cybertruck, the thing I love about this Cybertruck setup that I've got, is it's plugged in right now to the house. If the power goes out, the Cybertruck takes over and the house is still powered, which includes I've got the whole garage set up on the Cybertruck. So I technically can run this machine with the Cybertruck because it can handle 220. The 220 circuit is on there. So when the power goes out, I can still cut stuff out. And the Cybertruck is pretty crazy because it when the power goes out, I charge it to 80% every night, and then it's set to discharge all the way down to 20%. But so that's 60% of the battery. So it's not even, it's barely over half, and it still gives me over 2 days of battery time that it could supply my house. So it's got my furnace on there, my refrigerator, all the basics, all my sump pumps, and then everything in the garage. So if things shit hit the fan, I could still bust out something, make a barricade. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do in a high tech world with a, machine like this, but for protection. But you never know. Guys got to dream about stuff like that. That's what guys do. We got to think about the scenario when the zombies come in. What are we going to do? How are we going to fend them off? I got a machine. I'm going to take 6 hours to craft out the perfect weapon in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. That's the dream, right? It's never going to happen, but that's what we want, So I'm ready for it. I've got the Cybertruck. I'll run them over while I make the machine, or while my machine, I'll use the Cybertruck to run them over so that they won't invade the house. And then, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I got a lot of tools. We do something. But anyway, that's the CNC machine. I really enjoy it. If anybody's really interested in them, I say go for it. There's nothing wrong with ever learning things. I haven't really monetized it yet. I just started an Etsy store. It's only got 3 items in it, so I'm starting to put some stuff in there. If it pans out, cool. If not, then I've made some cabinets. Like this is some of the cabinets that I made that are inside one of my condos. And then I've got this is the final. This is kind of how they turned out. So, it's already, I saved a ton of money with that project because this was probably $8,000 worth of cabinets, comparable price. And I put them together for, I think it was $1,600. I forget the amount. I want to say it was $1,600 in material. And then, of course, just the time to design it and then cut it out and do all that. I didn't have too much waste. I didn't have any big screw ups on it. So I was really happy with how the whole project turned out. It's got all soft close, everything. It's got this 3/4 inch Baltic birch, pre-finished plywood. So it's a really solid, nice finish to it. I really, really can't be more, I'm just thrilled that I saved that much money. So just on that alone, it's worth it. It's, I still didn't save $21,000 worth, but I've learned so much. It's like a free education in a lot of ways that I have no problems with that price tag for what's still going to bring me more opportunities down the road or cool things to make, or, the ability to, I've got some furniture I've made. I've got a gun rack I've made. There's just so many cool things that I can do with it that I will just keep tinkering as I go. I like saving money and be able to make stuff myself. So if you do too, I highly recommend it. It's a fun curve. Don't go broke on it because they're, like I said, after the machine, which is $21,000, you've got your computer, you've got your software, and then you've got your bits and your ongoing costs, which machine-wise, there really isn't much maintenance on that. You just need to make sure you keep your grease going. Keep maintenance on that. Always do your warm-ups on the spindle. Other than that, it's fairly low maintenance as far as the machine itself is. But the ongoing costs of bits, the ongoing costs of, I got to try that wood out. It's a hole. There is a rabbit hole. So beware on, if you're not into woodworking, a woodworker's going to know already a lot of those rabbit holes. But if you're not familiar with it, it's a it's a daunting thing to go in and be like, oh, I want to go make a bookshelf, and then the wood you want to pick out is $300. You're like, shit, you know. So it's a little bit. Like I said, I enjoy it. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope you enjoyed your time, and I hope you have a good day wherever you're at, night. And thank you for watching. And we will talk to you next time.